Throughout the years, a lot of games have been published to the Roblox platform, with a percentage of these becoming very successful and making it onto the front page. Some notable examples include Adopt Me, Welcome to Bloxburg, Arsenal, Speedrun 4, Brookhaven, as well as loads of others. In today's video, I will be talking about the story of a game that was once very popular in the late 2000s and early 2010s, but is mostly forgotten nowadays. This game had a notable rise and fall in which it left behind a legacy that few have matched. This is the story and legacy of Reason to Die. In order for this video to make sense, we need to answer a simple question. What is Reason to Die? For those that don't know, Reason to Die is a shooter survival game that was based on the 2008 zombie shooter game Left 4 Dead, which was created by Valve Corporation. As for the gameplay and how it works, a map will be chosen and the players will be teleported into it. They will then be given some time to prepare. Following this, a random player is chosen to be the zombie and given the goal of infecting the rest of the players. On the other side, the survivors have to try and survive until help arrives, killing zombies and acquiring supplies and power-ups in the process. Needless to say, Reason to Die became a defining game of the early days of the Roblox platform. It grew really popular throughout the first 6 years of its existence and is fondly remembered by many Roblox veterans. We will be going over the history, impact, and sequels of Reason to Die, as well as much more in this video. So, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. The history of Reason to Die can be traced all the way back to April of 2008, therefore making the game over 13 years old as of this video being published. It initially started out as an experimental project called Lust for Blood. There is barely any information on the game, but one can assume that it was similar to Reason to Die in concept. In the middle of 2009, the first official build of Reason to Die would end up being released to the public. The game had a pretty small yet dedicated following in the beginning that played the game and helped it become popular amongst the community. Along with this, Reason to Die was updated pretty regularly, ensuring new things being added to the game and making players return in the process. It would earn over 1.75 million place visits by mid-January of 2010, which meant that the game was a hit on the Roblox platform. This would all change in early 2010.
Roblox may be going downhill, but the users still come up with plenty of awesome games. The Left 4 Dead parody, Reason to Die, by Place Rebuilder, has the privilege of being the first game to be reviewed in this series.
On March 12, 2010, early Roblox YouTuber ZhaoZhaoMan would upload a video titled Raging Roblox Reviewer Reason to Die. This video was an episode of his then ongoing series called Raging Roblox Reviewer, if the title didn't make it clear. Understanding the popularity of ZhaoZhaoMan within the Roblox community in 2010, this video caused a lot of players to go and play Reason to Die, which increased both the size of the fanbase and the amount of popularity it had on Roblox. Of course, this newfound success motivated Place Rebuilder to continue updating Reason to Die because why not? Doing this only led to more people discovering and playing the game. However, this also caused problems to arise with the game. In the time period between 2010 and 2012, Place Rebuilder slowly lost interest in Roblox and eventually quit the platform. This in turn led to Reason to Die becoming abandoned and broken. This also led to the player count dropping over time. During this, Place Rebuilder made the game uncopylocked, which meant that anyone could take the game, edit it, and then publish it as their own. Of course, people did just that in order to revive the popularity of Reason to Die, but a majority of remakes were unsuccessful. Fast forward to December of 2012 and Place Rebuilder returned to Roblox. Since it had been quite some time since the game was last touched, Place Rebuilder decided to remake Reason to Die from scratch. This time, he added a lot of new features such as more items, new mechanics, and remastered maps. One thing to note is that only a few of the maps were in their original state. This did help to revive the popularity of Reason to Die for a while, but it didn't last long. Pretty soon, the game stopped getting updates and became abandoned, again. However, Reason to Die was still getting place visits, which meant that there was still an active player base. They waited and waited for new updates, but nothing would come for almost 2 years. Fast forward to early 2014, specifically May 2014, and Place Rebuilder would find out that Reason to Die still had an active community behind it, and that the game reached 5 million place visits. Astounded by this, Place Rebuilder shut down Reason to Die in April of 2014 and remade the game from scratch. Again. However, this was around the time that exploits were becoming popular in Roblox and Reason to Die was a target. Soon, the game would start to lose popularity and fall from the front page of Roblox. There was a specific incident that occurred during this first exploit wave that is notable, so we'll go over it right now. There was a rise in exploiters in early to mid 2014, and the said exploiters gave everyone a lot of money in-game. Think of them being turned into Jeff Bezos. As a result of this, everyone was able to buy everything in the shop, most notably the tank zombie. Along with this, the exploiters would kill the survivors every round, which eventually made the game boring. In turn, the game lost popularity and soon left the front page of Roblox. Reason to Die would become abandoned for a few months as no new updates were released and people stopped visiting the game. In August of 2014, Place Rebuilder decided to try and revive the popularity of Reason to Die again by releasing an update that celebrated the game reaching 8 million place visits. In these updates, things such as bosses, new items, and new mechanics were added. One of the bosses that was added was known as King Cake. This boss was, quote, a big piece of cake which fired rockets that spawned bombs, in which players would try to defeat the boss by gathering up and trying to kill it with teamwork. When killed, King Cake would drop a quantity of chests containing items, cash, and experience. King Cake was one of the most difficult bosses to kill in Reason to Die, mainly due to it being really overpowered and deadly. This in turn led to a majority of players rage quitting. However, this boss was not perfect. In late 2014, there was a specific exploit where players could fire a pipe bomb at the edges of the map, which would cause King Cake to fall off the said map. This would result in the survivors getting an instant victory, which everyone must have liked. Survivors could also farm from the King Cake dying, which was taken advantage of by a lot of people. Place Rebuilder ended up fixing this later on. 2 items were added as well to celebrate 8 million place visits. The first one is an item called Fireworks 8 million. The player could obtain this by simply killing a tank. Once this was done, a firework would appear in the inventory of the player. When this is used during a round, the firework will go up in the sky like fireworks do, and an explosion that reads 8 million place visits will be shown. What a nice way to celebrate a milestone. Another item that was added to Reason to Die was one called Cake. If the player was in need of help, they could simply type cake in the game chat without quotation marks, and a piece of cake would fall to the ground. When the player touched this piece of cake, they would earn 50 health. People abused this feature a lot because it meant free health. This was fixed later on though, and also made a return in the Halloween update. Moving into September, NPC zombies were added to Reason to Die as a way to help those that are in the infected team. However, the flamethrower was also added as a new weapon, which gave the survivors another advantage over the infected. In September of 2014, Reason to Die reached 10 million place visits, which is a pretty huge milestone. However, Place Rebuilder said that he would not be doing an update to celebrate 10 million place visits. Instead, he would do a Halloween update that was set to release in October of 2014. When this update finally released, new things were introduced such as a new boss, a new map, more items and skins, and zombie balancing, all of which we will be going over. The boss that was added in the Halloween update was known as Lord Pumpkin. This boss was an oversized pumpkin that would spawn if the map Lord Pumpkin was chosen. Lord Pumpkin had around 50,000 HP and required a lot of teamwork if you wanted to defeat it. If you do defeat it, then a lot of rewards will be dropped. Specifically, chests would fall from the sky and give out various items such as cash, experience, and a Halloween vest, the latter of which I will talk about later. Like King Cake, however, Lord Pumpkin was not perfect as well. In late 2014, there was a bug with this boss where if the chests fall to the ground before lava hits the building, while Lord Pumpkin is doing his lava jump, then a majority of the chests will be destroyed, making them unobtainable. This meant that the survivors would need to kill Lord Pumpkin again in order to obtain the rewards. Speaking of the chests, the rewards obtained from them were nerfed later on due to players abusing them to earn fast money. Moving on, a new map known as Halloween Obby was added. This map was a quote fiery hard obby that rewards access to a vote for the Lord Pumpkin fight. I'm guessing that players could vote for certain things regarding Lord Pumpkin if they completed the obby. As for the items, there were 2 that were added. The first one was known as the Pumpkin Bomb / Halloween Bomb. This item was a reward that one could get from completing the Halloween obby map. When used during a round, the bomb would release confetti and make nearby players trip and fall. This includes both survivors and zombies, so no one was safe from the pumpkin bomb. The second and final item was known as the Halloween Vest. This item was a vest that allowed the user to gain 50 health and become fireproof. The Halloween vest was obtained by touching one of the chests dropped by the Lord Pumpkin boss, which made it extremely rare. On November 25, 2014, PlayStation released a Christmas update for Reason to Die. Like the previous few updates, things such as new weapons, bosses, and items were added along with presents. Speaking of presents, they will be dropped at random times during rounds and gave out different rewards. There were 3 tiers of presents that could be dropped: green, which was the rarest, golden, which was moderately rare, and blue, which was most common. Each tier gave out credits, experience, and other items. One thing to know about presents is that only a single one dropped during each round, which made them extremely hard to get. Knowing how people act, this led to some players switching from server to server just to obtain a present. Talk about being greedy. As for the bosses, there was one that was added in the Christmas 2014 update, that boss being known as Mr. Frost. Mr. Frost is shown to be a huge snowman that equips a hammer known as the Ice Sledge. He has abilities such as stunning, freezing, and knocking players off the map. Based on this, one can say that Mr. Frost is a tough boss to fight against. If the player were to defeat Mr. Frost, a bunch of chests containing rewards will fall from the sky. A random thing to know about Mr. Frost is that during a round, there was a chance of him dropping his hammer and whoever touched it would obtain it. Moving on to the weapons, there was only one that was added to Reason to Die in the Christmas 2014 update, that weapon being the Ice Sledge. The Ice Sledge was earned by defeating Mr. Frost and gives the player the ability to freeze zombies upon contact. However, the animation that the sword used made the player vulnerable to attacks, which made a lot of people not want to use it. In early 2015, Reason to Die was chosen as one of 4 games that will participate in the 2015 Winter Games event. If anyone is curious, the other 3 games were Apocalypse Rising, Flood Escape, and Top Roblox Runway Model. As part of the event, there were prizes that could be obtained from playing Reason to Die. There are 2 items in question, which were the Edgar's Head hat and the Winter Games Goggles face accessory. In order to obtain the Edgar's Head, the player had to kill 8 smoker zombies during a match. As for the Winter Games Goggles, the player had to pick it up when it dropped during a match. As a result of Reason to Die participating in the Winter Games 2015 event, the place got a lot of place visits and rose to a new peak in popularity. This, however, would soon end at the hands of a growing problem within Roblox. In early 2015, there was a rise of people exploiting games on Roblox. This caused a lot of Roblox games to be attacked by people and, in turn, lose popularity. Reason to Die was one of these games that fell victim to exploiters. On April 28, 2015, a user that was playing the game hacked several Reason to Die servers and messed around. Of course, game moderators caught wind of this and tried to ban the hacker. However, there was a glitch that kept them in the game. Due to this incident, Reason to Die was pretty much destroyed and started to lose popularity. Even though I only talked about 2 incidents of exploiting in this entire video, there was a spike in the amount of cases throughout 2015, which led to the previously mentioned decline of popularity. After a while, Reason to Die left the front page of Roblox for the millionth time. However, unlike the previous revivals mentioned earlier, Reason to Die would never regain its huge level of popularity. In the fashion of games that become very successful, there were a few sequels to Reason to Die that were made. In order, the 2 sequels are Reason to Die Awakening and Reason to Die Classic Edition, the former of which was made by PlayStation and the latter made by a developer known as Gamma Shock. We will be going over a brief history of each sequel. Reason to Die Awakening was created on September 9, 2014 by PlayStation as a result of Reason to Die losing popularity and being littered with exploiters. A main difference between this sequel and the original game is that Reason to Die Awakening had added filtering enabled, which made it way harder for people to exploit in-game. This sequel became very successful, accumulating almost 144 million plays visits and earning a 74% like to dislike ratio. Basically, people really liked Reason to Die Awakening. In mid-2020, Reason to Die Awakening was transferred to the Reason to Die community group. Anyone that played the previous version of the game had their stats transferred over to this new version. However, sad news came in early 2021. On April 22, 2021, PlayStation made a tweet announcing that development of Reason to Die Awakening would be discontinued and that he wanted to move on from it. The tweet came with an image full of text which reads, R2D8 is officially discontinued. I have decided to quit the development of R2D8 for personal reasons. Basically, I believe the whole theme of zombies has had an occult and negative effect on my life. If that is the case, then I don't want to give such a negative influence into the hands of any other developer, and therefore the work on R2D8 will be discontinued. I will not immediately shut down the game, but if I feel like it's still having an impact on my life, I will have to take it down as well. I am proud of what we have accomplished together. I really believe that we have one of the most supportive communities in Roblox, and for that, I'm really grateful. I want to thank everyone who has supported me financially these years, everyone who supported the game by playing it, making YouTube videos, the wiki people, moderators, those who contributed with maps, weapons, assets, etc. The list of people who built this community is long, and the game would not have been made without you. Thank you. I've accomplished everything I set out to accomplish, minus the Bloxy Awards, and I believe it's due time to move on. Maybe I'll make another game someday? It's been an honor leading this community, and I wish you all the best for the future. Thank you for playing my game, Place Rebuilder. Prior to this tweet going out, Reason to Die Awakening had not been updated since January 24th, 2021, and it's still like this as of this video going out. This is the same case with the new version of Reason to Die Awakening, but with development being stopped in April of 2021. Despite both versions of the game not being updated in several months, they are still playable. Time will decide if both games stay like this in the future. This will be the last game in the franchise that Place Rebuilder would ever create, having moved on from the game. With this, any future Reason to Die games will not be made by him. Speaking of sequels that aren't made by Place Rebuilder, there's a game called Reason to Die Classic Edition that serves as a remake of the original Reason to Die. Like the previous section, we'll be going over a brief history of the game, so let's get into it. Reason to Die Classic Edition was created on November 29th, 2020 by Roblox developer Gammashock. This was in response to Reason to Die Awakening being in its last stages of development. The starting place for Classic Edition was uploaded to the Roblox development group Building Bricks, which is owned by Gammashock. Development started in late 2020 and is currently in progress through 2021, with no release date announced as of this video going out. However, this might change as time goes on, so we'll wait and see. Even though Reason to Die Classic Edition isn't fully released, the game is playable and getting updated pretty often. A link to the game will be put in the description below. When Classic Edition does get fully released, it'll mark a full return of the Reason to Die series. Since we are talking about Reason to Die, it only makes sense for us to cover how the community received this game. Throughout the existence of the original Reason to Die game, it accumulated mixed reviews from the community. Older players say that the game no longer had the old Roblox feel, while the newer players liked the game and actively played it. There have been notable figures in the community that have reviewed Reason to Die in the past. A prime example of this is ZhaoZhaoMan, who we talked about earlier in the video. Back when he made the Raging Roblox Reviewer episode on Reason to Die, he said that the game was, quote, not terrible. However, several years passed and ZhaoZhaoMan tweeted, I would do a Raging Roblox Reviewer episode on the new Reason to Die, but all it will be is 15 minutes of me sobbing and breaking things. Basically, he says that the game could be better. As for the reception of Reason to Die Awakening, it has been mostly positive throughout its lifespan, having a 75% like to dislike ratio as of November 11th, 2021. Expect this to change in the future. Regarding other stats, Reason to Die Awakening has over 1.34 million favorites and 144 million plays visits as of this video going out. Other reviews of Reason to Die have come from users such as MaxZ and Cirx2. MaxZ, who did the official Roblox review of Reason to Die, has said that the game is perfect for those that are into zombie shooter games or just like attacking humanoids that can harm you. Cirx2 gave a review of Reason to Die on their blog, Bloxicans, where they gave the game a 9 out of 10 and praised the entertainment, maps, and the kinds of zombies that can be chosen. Reception towards the games in the Reason to Die trilogy has mainly been positive throughout the almost 14 years that the franchise has existed. Since there are a bunch of extra facts that don't necessarily fit in the previous section in this video, there will be a part of trivia that is discussed. As one might know, trivia is just extra facts that are relevant enough to make it onto the video. So, let's get into it. The first piece of trivia is that Reason to Die is one of only 2 Roblox games that are deemed not terrible by ZhaoZhaoMan's Raging Roblox Reviewer series. The other game is Welcome to the Town of Robloxia by OneDev2. The second and final piece of trivia is that there was a map that was planned to be added to the first Reason to Die game called Ghost Town, but it was scrapped when Reason to Die was abandoned for the first time. Not much is known about what the map would have contained or looked like, but one can assume based on the name that it probably would have resembled a ghost town. There wasn't a lot of trivia that wasn't about the gameplay, but I still decided to talk about it regardless. So, what did we learn in this video? Reason to Die is a Roblox zombie shooter game created by Place Rebuilder that was based on 2008's Left 4 Dead, which is created by Valve Corporation. Reason to Die works like a round-based survival game. A map will be chosen, teams are assigned, and the survivors will have to try and defeat the zombies and vice versa. Reason to Die became very successful in its early years and even got reviewed by notable figures in the Roblox community. The history of Reason to Die dates all the way back to April of 2008 and was in development until mid-2015. During this time, the game was abandoned several times for different reasons. When this happened, Place Rebuilder would end up remaking the game several months after abandoning it. In addition to this, several sequels for Reason to Die would be made between 2014 and 2020. The first sequel, Reason to Die Awakening, was active from September 9, 2014 until April 22, 2021, when it was discontinued. Another sequel, Reason to Die Classic Edition, was created on November 29, 2020 and has been in development since then. Overall, the Reason to Die franchise is one that has made a lasting impact on the Roblox platform, being one of the first zombie shooter games to gain popularity and become iconic. Even though Place Rebuilder is no longer working on games in the franchise, they still have a pretty active player base. Throughout its existence, the Reason to Die games have gotten a mostly positive reception, with many people liking the maps, gameplay, mechanics, and overall style. Of course, games such as Apocalypse Rising, Zombie Strike, The Undead Coming, and many more exist nowadays, but who knows if they might have existed had Reason to Die not been made. Despite the original game not being active since 2017, its impact is still felt within the Roblox community. That being said, Reason to Die will forever be an iconic Roblox zombie game, and that's everything.